Hello everyone, this is Evie and I'm going to go over round 2 of the Hong Kong Basketball League. And as you can see, there is Ma Chun-young who has won one set, and we have Wong, Cheuk, Lam, Nicholas on the right side. So Miraidon and Isidore as the lead is actually pretty not favored in my opinion. There is However, there is also an Incineroar, and Incineroar does not want to take the body press, so it's going to retreat and go into Lunala. And this Lunala is going to activate its electric seed thanks to the electric terrain set by Miraidon's Hadron Engine ability. The Chenpao goes for the Ice Spinner and takes Miraidon to under half, and Miraidon loses some damage output because Hadron Engine and Electric Terrain are no longer active, and the Life Orb is actually going to bring it down even lower. Incineroar comes out, and brings Chenpao to -2, but Zamazenta doesn't really care, and Body Press does go into the Lunala. Let's go into the Lunala, which is very, very interesting. Macho Yarn going for the Terra Bug on the Incineroar, which makes it resist the body press from the Zamazenta, and Chenpao crucially going for the Runation onto the um onto the Lunala, bringing it down to half, and Incineroar knocks out Chenpao thanks to the thanks to the also Chenpao, thanks to it being the Assault Vest item. Lunala does set up a Trick Room. I want to point out that this is not that bad for or Nicholas here, because they do have an Amoonguss. And we see Machier retreating the Incineroar and bring in Miraidon to prevent Spore from going into their Pokemon. Miraidon's Hadron Engine sets up the electric terrain, which means that Spore is now ineffective due to electric terrain shutting down Sleep. And Ursaluna comes in. Amoonguss uses Spore, but it's blocked by the electric terrain, and Zamazenta's Body Press goes to Miraidon and knocks it out. But Miraidon has already done his job. It's out of the electric terrain, and Nicholas does not have another way of breaking. Nicholas does not have another way of removing the terrain. Incineroar comes back in, intimidates the Zamazenta and Amoonguss, but Zamazenta mainly uses its defensive stat as its attack. Like, Incineroar goes for Fake Out into the Zamazenta, and we see Hachiyer thinking about going for the using Facade into the Amoonguss, and we see Amoonguss go for the Protect. Presumably Zamazenta is going for the Protect as well. So this stalls out a turn of Trick Room, which is pretty good for Nicholas. Now, Nicholas has a play to make. Nicholas could either wide guard and just attack with the Amoonguss, or it could just like Rage Powder and just like attack into the Ursaluna. So we see Machin Yarn lock into Flare Blitz, and is now considering Earthquake. Earthquake. But no, Machin Yarn actually opts to protect the Ursaluna. As the Moongus goes for Rage Powder to redirect attacks away from its partner, and Incineroar goes for the Flare Blitz, which does a very good amount of damage to a Moongus, but Incineroar takes recoil from the Rocky Helmet and Flare Blitz, and Incineroar goes down. Goes down. And Zamazenta, well, it goes for Body Press, but it is blocked by the Protect on Ursaluna. Mushroom Gurn sends in Lunala as their last Pokemon, but there is and goes for the Wide Guard and Earthquake. So Wide Guard does protect Luna from Ursaluna's powerful Earthquake, but Nicholas has access to Terrazization, and Terrazzize Zamazenta plus Rage Powder. Powder is perfectly safe, but no, Amoonguss and Zamazenta go for Protect to stall another turn of Trick Room. As Lunala goes for Wide Guard, and Ursaluna does nothing as it hits into the Protect of Amoonguss, Lunala, and Zamazenta. So this is getting very, very interesting now. It looks like Nicholas is actually in the lead. As Ursaluna takes another turn of burn damage, and Ursaluna and Trick Room ends, which is very, very, which is awkward positioning. So now Nicholas could go for a read, but yeah, Nicholas could go for a read and attack into the Ursaluna. If there is a safe play for Nicholas. As Nicholas switches out the Amoonguss, who bring in Dragonites as their last Pokemon. And Zamazenta goes for the Body Press to knock out the Ursaluna. And now it's Lunala versus Zamazenta, Dragonites, and Amoonguss in Trick Room. Which I'm pretty sure. I'm no Lunala expert. Actually, I am a Lunala expert. I played Lunala for all of Regulation Set G, but Lunala cannot 1v3 due to it only having single target moves. And Bachir actually opts to forfeit his match. So forfeit his match. Well, there's not much. Well, probably to conserve information from Nicholas, I suppose, to see if Dragonite's faster than Lunala in Trick Room, which is very, very, which is optimal in my opinion. After Disconnect wasn't malicious, we decide to do game 2 once again, baby. We see Nicholas deciding to switch up his lead with Chenpao Zamazenta, with Chenpao, not Zamazenta, Dragonites. That's a weird looking Zamazenta. I think it's, French, actually. We see Lunala just going for the raw Trick Room, and was going for the raw Trick Room, actually. And we see Nicholas go for the Terra Normal on Dragonites. If you know, I think we all know what's happening. We're going to see a double up on the Miraidon slot. We see Extreme Speed does a lot to Miraidon, brings it down to red. And we see Runation go into the Lunala. And Lunala doesn't really want stats. I got all high. But we see the Electro Drift go into Chien-Pao, and Chien-Pao actually does survive, which means that Chien-Pao is pretty bulky. Well, it's pretty heavily invested in special defense. defense. But Raidon could only go for one more attack before fainting. Only go for one more attack before fainting. But Dragon could go for extreme speed. And we see Nicholas opt to switch out to Tempo and bring out Amoonguss. Lunala goes for the wide guard to protect itself from the potential sucker punch from Tempo, and Dragonite goes for the extreme speed and knocks out the low HP Miraidon. And critting it while adding insult to injury, I suppose. And we see Ursaluna coming in once again. So right now, Miss Ursaluna can go for the Terra Ghost. Over Terra Ghost and be immune to the extreme speed coming from the Dragonite, but Dragonite could switch. Let's switch, and there is a potential Zamazenta in the back. So Nicholas opts to switch out the Dragonites and brings in the Zamazenta, and Zamazenta is going to get the defense boost from Dance's shield. Now, I'm not sure what Amoonguss is going to do here, but we see Yeung opting to terrestrialize the Ursaluna to Ghost to be immune to Dragonite's extreme speed chip damage. It's just going to deal some chip, but it's going to add up. So Lunala goes for the wide guard. And Amoonguss goes for the Sludge Bomb, hoping for a potential poison, and Earthquake comes out from the Ursaluna. So doing decent damage to both Amoonguss and Zamazenta. But as it is now a ghost type, this type is now immune to Zamazenta's body press, which is Zamazenta's main form of damaging the opponents. Amoonguss opts to go for protects, and Zamazenta goes for protects. Nicholas is stalling out a turn of Trick Room. As the facade goes into the Amoonguss, and the Moongeist beam goes into the Zamazenta. And Ursaluna takes his first turn of Burn Chip. There's only one more turn of Trick Room left, which means that Nicholas could basically get away with a lot. But Zamazenta opts to go for wide guard. And the Moongus goes for Sludge Bomb again, hoping for the poison on the Lunala and getting some chip. And Facade KOs the Amoonguss, but Ursaluna takes some more chip damage because of the Rocky Helmets, and Lunala's Moongeist Beam does decent damage to Zamazenta, and we see Ursaluna taking more chip damage. Ursaluna is on a timer. And now the electric terrain is gone. Well, it's not that relevant, low-key. And Nicholas going into the Dragonites. And Machin Yeung hoping that this Dragonite's outrage doesn't hit into the Lunala slot. Actually just protects the Ursaluna, and Dragonite goes for the outrage and hits into the protects. Majin Yeung is back into their game with a second Trick Room. Second Trick Room. And now the Moongeist Beam goes into the Zamazenta. And Majin Yeung actually just thinking. Retreating the Lunala and going into Urshifu. Urshifu's Unseen Fist means that Nicholas can't really stop the trick room by just going for the conventional double protect. Zamazenta goes for Behemoth Dash, but does very little damage to the Urshifu. I suppose Nicholas was trying to get more information by knocking out the Lunala and revealing the last Pokemon, but now Nicholas has his insights. There are 3 more turns of Trick Room left, and Machiur is able can lock up the game by going for Aqua Jet onto the Timpal and a headlong rush into the Zamazenta. And we're moving on to Game 3. And we see a difference lead from Machiur once again. Going back to Miraidon and Urshifu. Notably, this is a choice band Urshifu. So so it's locked into one move. We see the first realization of the game, and it's coming from Nicholas' side as the Dragonites goes for Terra Normal. We're going to see another Extreme Speed. Extreme Speed comes out into the Urshifu, brings it out to 7 HP, and Ice Spinner knocks out the Urshifu. So this shuts down Machiur's play of potentially knocking out the either one of Nicholas's Pokemon with the Miraidon. And now Machiur is in big trouble. Well, as Miraidon is susceptible to a double up. Double up. But Lunala is actually a pretty decent switch in. And Machiur Machiur has to rely on Ursula to do most of the heavy lifting. The Dry Knight goes for the extreme speed once again, going into Miraidon, and Miraidon survives on a slither of HP. But it takes an Ice Spinner to the face, and Miraidon's knocked out. Now, Machiur sets up the trick room, and now Machiur is forced to have Ursula do most of the heavy lifting. And since Miraidon is gone, there's no more electric terrain, which means that Machiur could just use Amoonguss to shut down Lunala. Lunala. Machiur could go for Terra Ghost onto the Ursaluna slot because it is really, really safe because Dragonite is locked into extreme speed, which means that it cannot switch moves. So Dragonite goes for the extreme speed, doesn't affect the Ursaluna, and the Tempo going for the Sucker Punch does over half to the Ursaluna, and Ursaluna goes for the head-on rush, bringing Tempo to a slither HP in red, and Lunala goes for the Moonblast. So now Nicholas, well, is in the backseat. Is in the backseat as Nicholas is locked into Extreme Speed in front of 2 Ghost types. Most times. We see Nicholas switch out Dragonites because it is forced to. And Nicholas sends out Zamazenta, which is going to take a nasty headlong rush from this Ursaluna. Amoonguss sends his Machin Yeung's Lunala to sleep. And this Ursaluna does 80% of Zamazenta's HP. Thanks to, with that headlong rush read. And Lunala takes its first mandatory turn of sleep. There are only 2 more turns of Trick Room left. And Machin Yeung has to make them count. I mean, he has to make them count. We see the Ursaluna go for the protect, but Nicholas not falling for it. Wait, never mind. Nicholas does go for the protect, but the Amoonguss goes for the Sludge Bomb, which goes into the protect on the Ursaluna, and Luna takes its second turn of sleep. And Ursaluna taking another turn of sleep, taking another tick of burn damage. Amoonguss goes for Sludge Bomb, brings Ursaluna to red. Facade goes into Zamazenta, knocks it out, but and Luna takes its third and final turn of sleep. Ursaluna takes another turn of sleep now. Takes another turn of burn chip, and the Trick Room reverts back to normal. Now, Nicholas has Dragonites, and Dragonites has to do some heavy lifting. It can lock itself into Outrage, but it's a 50-50 of whether it hits into Ursaluna or not. And Amoonguss cannot 1v1 the Lunala. Lunala. Yeah. We see Machin Yeung going for the Rage Powder, which is completely safe unless Machin Yeung goes for the Earthquake. Lunala goes for Moongeist Beam, goes into the Amoonguss, does around 40%, and Dragonite's Outrage picks up the KO on the low HP Ursaluna. So now Nicholas can go for Rage Powder and Outrage again. But Lunala is so bulky. Okay. Amoonguss goes for Rage Powder to redirect away the Moonblast from the Dragonites. And Outrage breaks Lunala's Shadow Shield, does a lot of damage. And since this is a 3-turn Outrage, Nicholas, his Dragonite, isn't confused. And now it's down to a row to determine the winner of the set. Moongeist Beam goes into Amoonguss and knocks it out. But does Outrage from the Dragonite KO? Dragonite goes for the Outrage, and it picks up the KO, and Wong Lam Nicholas is the winner of this series.